It's me. Hello. One moment while I pull up chat. Oh no, an ad. Hello, Noah Savage. Hello, Pixel William. Hello, Corvin Tree. Hello, everybody in chat. Hope everyone's having a good day or night, whichever it is for you. Let's give it a few minutes. Hello, Lucas. Hello, I hope everyone's having a good day or night. How is everybody doing today before we jump into the nitty-gritty? As the title of stream suggests, we're going to be watching Matpat'S live stream today. Let me specify first before we do anything. You might have noticed that I haven't streamed in a fair few days. That's because I'm dealing with at least two cavities, I think, at the moment. Yeah, I've been dealing with pretty much a bad toothache that's off and on, so it's been a bit debilitating. Brush your teeth, folks. Now, that's not to say I don't brush my teeth. I actually do, but be careful about what you eat and whatnot, and make sure dental hygiene's important because you don't want to get cavities because they are painful. Right now I'm fine, but that's because I took some painkillers earlier. It's like really sensitive to drink stuff with one side of my mouth. Yeah, they suck. If anyone's ever had a cavity before, they suck. No, mine are like the rough kind. I'm going to the dentist like on the 22nd, thankfully, but yeah, I have some crappy cavities at the moment, and they were a bit agonizing to deal with. Right now I'm fine, thankfully. Hopefully I'll be fine for the rest of stream, but that's why I haven't streamed in a few days. I have Cavities 3, a trilogy, nice. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be Oh, hello, Biscuit. I noticed you said hi, but it went under my radar. And I was told I should... There we go. I'll make that smaller, actually. I wish I put my guy. We'll put my little guy over here for today's stream. Yeah, to try and get back into the groove of things, we're going to do a bit of a chill, relaxing stream. Nothing too drastic or whatnot. I'm going to be reacting to Matpat'S Ultimate Timeline that he released probably a few years ago now, right? It's actually quite a while ago. 2 years ago it came out. The reason I decided to do this is one, I've seen that reacting to theories is something a lot of people actually, and a lot of other theorists tend to do. And I'm like, wait, that would actually be kind of fun. I've never thought of that before. So, I decided I want to kind of try it out and see how it goes. The other aspect is that I want to try to get into more theory crafting because I've always done like a lot of Fnaf theories. I was always a big proponent of Shadow Victim. That was the one thing I've talked a lot about, and other stuff and yada yada. And also, again, to get back into the groove of streaming, I wanted to do something generally not too taxing on my voice because talking can be a little bit of a pain, again, with the whole cavity thing. Hello, Oki. Hello, Samantha. Hello, nobody. I hope everyone's having a good day or a good night, whichever it is for you. I'm doing decent, barring the fact that, the aforementioned cavity. I have a few, unfortunately, but there's one in particular that's like, oh my god, please stop. It feels like you're exploding in my mouth. Like I said before, right now I'm fine, thankfully, but wash your teeth, fellas. Wash your teeth. Feel better, man? Thank you, okay. Thank you very much. Without further ado, we're going to get into it. Has Phasm Entertainment been around before Henry and William? We haven't even gotten into the lore yet. No, I doubt it. No. They are the founders of the company. Here we go. So yeah, this is FNAF The Ultimate Timeline Part 1. Came out about 2 years ago by, you guessed it, Matpat'. Ooh. Ooh, I miss you, Matpat'. I hope retirement's treating you well. Let's get into it.
End the Torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years.
I think, I've already paused it. We're 5 seconds in. 8 games is not counting. He said 8 games. So he said 11.
We end the torment. 19 books, 11.
Sorry, 11 games. That's actually lowballing it if you think about it, because I don't think he's counting the spin-offs. Let's see. FNAF 1 to 5 is Sister Location, but there's also FNAF World, so that would make 6. And then you have Ultimate Custom Night and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. So that's 7, 8. Then you have Help Wanted 2, 9, 10. Then you have Security Breach, which is 11. So, okay, maybe that's what he was counting. But then you have Special Delivery, which is 12. Now you have Secret of the Mimic, which is 13. Now you have Fairy's Rage, which is... Yeah, that would be 13. Oh my god, I'm already losing count. No, sorry, 14, because special delivery. 14, and then there's Freddy in Space 2 and 3. So that's like 16. Then you have 5 Laps at Freddy's. Yeah. We're going strong, fellas. On a real note, FNAF has not missed a release. I think... Yeah, no, there's always been some sort of yearly release ever since 2014. I don't think there was ever, like, a gap year.
Games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment. The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's...
I have, when, after Matt left and the new guy took over, his name's Tom, I believe, I did watch a few of Tom's theories when he first started. I know as of late, a lot of people just look at game theory kind of like slop. Neither here nor there. But dang, it's just one of those things where it's never the same without, you know, the old guy. Not to call Matpat' old. No offense to Tom either, I actually like Tom. I've seen him on, like, GT Live. I used to watch GT Live.
He's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is big, my friends. I gotta admit, kind of nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018.
When you consider, sorry if I keep pausing, but that's kind of the point of a reaction stream. When you consider it, FNAF's timeline isn't all that complicated. It's just filling in, like, the gaps between, because a lot of the story takes place off-screen. In terms of, like, if you look at the games themselves and whatnot, it's not too complicated. Like, let's say, Secret of the Mimic obviously takes place earliest in the timeline. Then would be FNAF 2, because that's 1987, and no, FNAF 4 does not take place in 1983. Again, strictly talking about the games themselves. Then after FNAF 2 would be FNAF 1, then FNAF 4, and then, that's the thing, I guess the hardest one to place is Sister Location, because Sister Location either takes place after FNAF 1 or after FNAF 3. I actually believe that in the latter option, because I feel like, there's, like, you know, there's that 30-year gap where nothing really happens because William Afton's rotting in the back room or whatever. And you could place Sister Location there, especially if you think that the Sister Location animatronics were made earlier in the timeline, like, more around the time of, like, 1983, 1985, which is, of course, possible. But personally, I think the game itself, Sister Location, takes place after FNAF 3. And so that's like 2023, and it makes like for like a much neater and condensed timeline. So FNAF 3, you know, 30 years after FNAF 1 or whatever, and then Sister Location, and then FFPS, and then UCN, and then from there it's kind of like a straightforward, because it's just like the Steel Wool games are generally easier to comprehend. Anyway.
Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton
What?
coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last
Okay, I recently looked into that because I haven't read that story from the books, but Fazgoo is not all that. As silly as it might be, it's not all like what... It's not what it's cracked up to be, let's say. It's just kind of a silly thing in the books. It's not that, like, wild. It's just, like, people cloning or whatever. It's like goo, it's sentient goo that when it gets a DNA sample, it makes a clone of the person. Hello, Angel. Hello. Hello. I always get... I haven't read this word in so long, so apologies if I get it wrong. And here I'm supposed to be the English major. Poutine? Hello, poutine. Hello, chicken. Poutine chicken. I'm pretty sure it's chicken. Hello. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope you're having a good day or a good night. Which, oh, by the way, goodbye, Noah Savage. Sorry, I just realized Noah left. Matpat retired and now we have a British man. Hey, that British man's cool even if I don't agree with his theories. Hope everyone's having a good day or night. How's everybody doing? We're watching Matpat.
time I did something like this, we've had 3 more massive games, the death and revival of the Fnaf movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today. The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theories.
There would never be a more entertaining, like, theorist than Matpat. I actually really like, Fnaf, Fuhnaff, just so people don't get confused. I really like how his is very presentable, and I really like the production quality, especially on the timeline he did a little while ago. Like, I remember watching him in the early days of his channel. I think before he was just, like, a news, Fnaf news guy at first. And I remember watching him, and I liked him. Just an entertaining guy, but, you know, Matpat'S Matpat. And Matpat, he's a theater kid, so...
Oh, to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his
William Afton is innocent, he did nothing wrong, you've no evidence.
Becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new
These days, I don't miss them, yeah. I think most people nowadays, they've warmed up to the idea of Glitchtrap not being Afton, and it's just... What was it? Yeah, no, it's the Mimic. It's probably like M1 or whatever. Well, I won't say if it's M1 or M2, but it's just the Mimic in general. Remember, to be fair, because, you know, back in the day when Help Wanted came out and with Security Breach at first, it was not obvious that the Mimic was a concept. I don't even think Tales from the Pizzaplex was out when Security Breach first released. I know it started around the same time, but either way, how both of those games kind of present themselves all, like, straightforwardly anyway, it's no wonder that people thought, oh, William Afton's back again, because when you see, you know, the furry guy here, Glitchtrap, waving at you from the shadows, you know, the first thing, and you're not going to think, oh, that's an AI program mimicking William Afton, you're going to think it's William Afton. You know, it's just, you know, he's purple, he just, like, waves at you, and it's the guy. It's, he stuffed you in a suit. Nope, you're Freddy Fazbear now, it's William Afton. And then, of course, when in Security Breach, you have Burntrap emerging from the pod with the purple smoke, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. And, you know, it's like those Afton imagery in that game with, like, the staff bots around the table. It's not a surprise to think that people, you know, sorry, it's not a surprise that people thought William Afton was back again. And then, it's all down to what Scott said in that one interview with Daco, was it last year now? Time blurs, when you get to my age. But we're here said. Sorry, I was yawning. That there was I think he let Steel do their own thing, and it was miscommunication or lack thereof, and that's why security breach is security breach. But anyway. Let me look at chat. Glitch Trap is the Mimic M2. Probably is M2, if I think about it more, but I could see a world where, because M1's Fiona. Yeah. I mean, the Mimic, it observes data, then, incorporates it. And Fiona's, I think it's something you could go either way with. But to be fair, I know I watched a theory earlier and someone made a good point. Oh god. I don't know why I'm yawning. Probably because I haven't talked this much in a few days. I'm trying to remember. But then I heard the TARDIS sound effect. Glitch Trap has not exhibited any traits that would be... Oh, by the way, Sammy just subscribed. Thank you for joining the show, Sammy. Thank you for subscribing. Glitch Trap has not exhibited any traits that would be reminiscent of Fiona, whereas he is more akin to M2, let's say, because M2 creepy like that. That makes sense. That's fine. So, yeah, I probably do lean towards being M2. The only difference is that M2 is more of the physical endoskeleton, that we see in Secret of the Mimic and Ruin. Whereas I think M1 is more of that digital consciousness thing that Glitch Trap seems to be. Anyway.
Digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being, the after...
Oh, by the way, hello, I just saw Sammy's in chat, hello! We're currently watching Matpat'S Ultimate Timeline that released a few years ago.
An era.
I can't wait to tear it apart with my bare cavity teeth.
Williams' decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern Fnaf. Everything that happens after the pizzeria simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate one episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless, continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just...
I do want to say, because I remember the early days of game theory back in 2014 when he made his first Fnaf theory, and the difference in editing. Not that there was anything bad about the editing he used to do. I mean, Matpat'S always been a good editor, from what I can call it anyway. But the animators or the editors and whatnot that he has, or game theory has on staff. Very skilled people, much better than anything I could do. This is some great, entertaining visuals and whatnot, which is always for as odd as it might be, odd praise. It's something important to a video when you have engaging visuals that might, actually make people sit down and watch, especially in today's atmosphere when a lot of people struggle to watch something that's more than 5-10 seconds long. Can't stay long, I'm getting ready for work. That's okay, Sammy. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you have a good day or night, whichever it is for you. If M1 is Glitch Trap, that's just mindless murder. M1? Not really. Because M2 is the mindless murdering one. M2 is the one that's ripping limbs off and stuffing people into fridges.
Skip my explanations, but for now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each...
I remember, sorry, again, I'm sorry if I keep pausing, but this is, it comes with doing a reaction stream, right? I remember watching this timeline when it first came out. I haven't watched it since. So I don't remember everything he says. I remember a lot of the cliff notes, and I remember what he's explaining here about, like, hey, we're gonna leave like a where our source of evidence came from thing when we make a claim or whatever. So, just so that, you know, they don't have to break down everything. They're trying to do. I do understand that he's trying to, like, just do a timeline that's, like, you know, presenting it as a story as opposed to, like, going over every piece of evidence and points and whatnot. I get that, of course. But I can't wait to get to it. It gets really funny, or, like, it's kind of, as someone, you know, myself, who is very deep into the lore and whatnot, and I do pride myself on being very familiar in general with the series, where he supposedly gets his evidence sometimes makes me crack up, because what do you mean that you got a ripped piece of paper from the Fazbear Frights number 2001, page 57? That's not true.
Chunk, we're also putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video. So if you wish to understand that specific
it's
statement and more...
Well, if you wanted to know what story Matpat gave birth to Springtrap to, it's a Fazbear Frights number 5 Bunny Call.
or detail, you know exactly where we've taken it from. That way you can look into those details for yourself.
Sorry for Doc, he is take long to respond. Sorry, what? Hey, I'm still here and looking. Oh, okay. Welcome back, Noah. No worries, Angel. Hello, Evan loves FNAF. Oh, by the way, hello, Brian. Thank you. I hope everyone's having a good day or night. Sorry if I do take a little bit to read chat. Number one, kind of what I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream. I'm dealing with a few cavities, one of which is kind of actually very painful. Right now, I'm fine, thankfully. It's dulled. The pain has dulled. But I'm also reacting to Matpat'S lovable timeline. But hello, Evan loves FNAF. Hello, Faye. Hope everyone's doing well. How's everybody doing? I know a lot of people are in school. Now it's October now. I almost said September. That's how time blurs in my head. But I hope school's going well for everybody. And if you're in work or something, I hope work is treating you nicely, or college. I know a few friends in college. I'm looking at Chad. I'm looking. I can only look so hard.
So sit back, grab some popcorn, or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you
die! No, I'm kidding.
Subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness.
Oh, yeah.
I got this old thing and the bill from the store where I got it. Figured you could be
And along the way, discovered the secret to eternal life.
Chapter 1, Foundations of Freddy's.
Our story begins not in the 1980s, or even in the
Faye asks, how was everyone's day? My day was pretty decent, all things considered. I've been working on, speaking of FNAF and whatnot, I've been working on a FNAF video myself, and I finally finished, like, editing most of the audio. My sleep schedule is totally whack, though. I woke up around, like, 7-something p.m. By the way, thank you, Faye, for subscribing. Thanks for joining the show. I appreciate it. Yeah, what was it? I've been working on a video. I don't want to, like, spoiler it or anything, but I've been working on my own sort of FNAF theory type of thing. And I finished editing the audio for it. Oh, doing voiceovers for scripts is such agony, especially with a cavity tooth.
1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression, and people were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, fourth highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in...
So this is saying Freddy Fazbear is the cause of World War I. I forgot the number for a minute.
California.
Sorry, 2, I'm done. Oh, God.
People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits. A simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Von Brothers or the Robbins Brothers.
The issue with this, I don't even think Secret of the Mimic really elaborated on it per se, because I mean you had like Fnaf. No, because it was mainly about Fredbear's and Freddy's, if anything. It's just a poster, buddy. I understand where he was coming from, of course. Yeah, that's 50-cent general admission, and it does imply that Freddy's, of course, or Fredbear anyway, existed much earlier, you know, in history than we originally might have thought. So yeah, I could see a world where something like Fredbear's Singin' Show goes all the way back to like what he's saying. It's just a lot of it's like, yes, you could say that they even call it Freddy here, not Fredbear. Enjoy perfect entertainment for the family with fresh. Thank you for having this on screen, by the way. Unadulterated food and beverage while being surrounded by a local singing bear, Freddy. There's just like, we don't know anything about like what this actually might have been. Presumably, yeah, it's just Freddy or Fredbear, whatever. But it's just, considering we just have this poster and basically, and honestly nothing else regarding like what this might have been, it's like you could say anything and it might be true, you know, conjecture, right? By the way, hello Dragon Master, hello Lasha, thank you for stopping by. I hope everyone's having a good day or night, whichever it is for you. By the way, sorry to hear you've got lice biscuit. I meant to say that earlier, but it slipped my mind. Thankfully, I have never had lice, but as crappy as my teeth might be, I am hygienic. Let me do a PSA real quick, fellas. Remember to brush your teeth and wash your bodies. Never mind. Maybe I should stop. I know, thanks. Someone just subscribed, but I was too busy being stupid. Thank you to whoever just subscribed.
Where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy.
So this is dating back to the 1930s? Yeah, that's what he's depositing anyway. And again, I could see where he's coming from, of course, because, you know, the whole 50-cent thing, and it's in, like, an old-styled poster. Yeah, no, it gives that vibe, of course, but, at, like, right here, this part, it's very, it's like, there's nothing to say William Afton saw a bear on, like, an actual, real, like, singing bear on stage doing tricks. And that's kind of, like, that's where it kind of jumps the shock a bit, where there was nothing to suggest that this is, like, what inspired William Afton, you know, way back when. And furthermore, you get into, like, the whole copyright infringement stuff, and, like, wait, if this is what inspired William Afton, I mean, maybe if it didn't, maybe, you know, if that bear didn't exist, maybe, again, it's just, like, you get into conjecture, and, like, it's just not something we know about.
Boy named Billy. That was his nickname.
To be honest, the lore has flipped on its head ever since Secret of the Mimic. Meh, more or less. I mean, there's some, you know, I feel like some people kind of, some fans kind of blow it out of proportion. It's not that, you know, it wasn't that wild. A lot of it was stuff that we've been theorizing about for, like, years, honestly. I bet William Afton had a terrible childhood. I think of that meme from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where it's I forget his name, unfortunately. Big Jack Horner, that was his name. Jack Horner, he's like, oh, I've never had much in life. Just a decent childhood, wealthy parents, a caring family. You know, it's just like all these things that some people don't have, where it's like, no, this guy's life was great, and he's still like, you know, being an ass. Like that sounds like William Afton to me. Did anyone know William failed to kill a kid once? I remember, I do, yeah, you're right. So for those who don't know, recently Ticket of Fun came out. It is like it's like a kit thing. I actually got it like yesterday. It's this kit thing where it's like a pamphlet, and it comes with like a few items, like a security badge or a small newspaper clipping, and the FNAF 2 check that Jeremy got. And one of the things in the kit is there's this one page where it says, it's like an anecdote from one of the kids back in 1985 where, oh, my favorite arcade games to play are the Chico one and the Midnight Motorist, and Bonnie helped me beat Midnight Motorist, and then he wanted me to follow him into the back room. But I had to go open presents, so I had to say bye-bye and, you know, leave that sucker to his vices. But yeah, so it's like Timmy Douglas, I believe the name was. William Afton failed to kidnap little Timmy. Props to you for having your priorities straight, little Timmy. But yeah, true story. That kid also confirmed that Charlie did die at Freddy's, and also confirms that the arcade minigames that we play, like, throughout the games, you know, like the death minigames or whatever, they are in fact real arcade machines. I saw a lot of people kind of trashing on the kid, or like not being too happy with it. Personally, I thought it was really cool, and it offered a lot of lore, or like decent lore. Again, like confirming where Charlie died. That's cool. By the way, hello Neo Channel. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day or night, whichever it is for you. It was a local show. I don't believe that it would be copyrighted. Okay, I mean, no, that's fair. I still don't think how to put it. I still think it's a leap to say that it's what inspired William Afton. I think if you really wanted to go that route, you could just say it was like a family business, which I know is like a theory that's been tossed around.
Name at least, but his parents like to call him William Afton. The bear could dance, it could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This
Again, I understand where he's coming from. This is always the thing about FNAF 2, is that, like, for example, in FNAF 1, like, a lot of people theorize that the game takes place in 1993, and that's because the minimum wage that Mike gets at the end of his, like, first week, it matches up pretty nicely with, like, the real-life level of minimum wage at the time. I know it kind of actually varied, but a lot of people say, oh, 1993 is, like, where that's most fitting for the minimum wage level. And that is a good, like, example of using real-life, like, logic or history, you know, events or whatever, to try and solve something in the lore. However, then you have something like, I don't know if it's in the game, actually, but Security Breach has, like, a throwaway line or something where it says bears are extinct by, you know, the time Security Breach happens. And of course the fact that at the end of the day, we're talking about a series that has ghosts possessing, you know, robots, and you have Remnant, and you have Agony, and you have, you know, corpses, you know, working the night shift and whatnot. You know, there's a level of suspension of disbelief, and it's like, what classifies, you know, sorry, more so, I'm trying to find the right words. Trying to apply real-life logic is not always the best example. And, sorry, it's not the best route, unfortunately. It's an admirable attempt, but it's not always going to be as cleanly fitting as you might want it to be. And that's why I think at the end of the day, using something like this, or the whole, like, minimum wage thing, it's good supporting evidence, and it could even be strong supporting evidence, but it's not something you want to base, like, an entire, Like, you don't want it to be, like, your base claim or something. You're like, oh yeah, this is really the foundation. I've always thought Charlie died at Fredbear's Family Diner. Yeah, I mean, that was a theory for a long time, but no, we recently got confirmation that it was Freddy's. Charlie was 3, and Anton's cousin. She's the daughter of Henry Emily. The Anton's... Oh, and you meant Afton. My bad. I was like, who's Anton? What did I miss in the lore? Disney and Fnaf. Also, if some people didn't know, Henry's William's best friend that helped build Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place in the game and books. Yeah, that's true. You know, Mr. Disney was a smoker. Yeah, most people were back then. Edwin invented recycling. Yes, he did. Back what I missed. Not much. We're just going over, you know, FNAF as per usual. What Charlie die? She died. Damn, Doc. Yeah. Presence really saved him.
Allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring
Wait, Charlie didn't die in Fredbear's, and my day is great. Yeah, no, let me reiterate again. There was this kit that came out recently called Ticket to Fun. I always butcher, like, it's like a Defamia kit. I always say it wrong, though. Anyway, it's like this kind of booklet kit thing, that comes with a few items and stuff. And one of the pages, it talks about, like, the security bracelets or whatever that we originally saw in, like, you know, that FNAF 6 minigame. The security puppet minigame, sorry. Who subscribed? Who dares disturb my slumber? Thank you, Pleasure Mitchell. What an interesting name. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, got another one. Good luck. Who did it this time? Thank you, Figure. Thank you for subscribing. But anyway, one of the pages, it talks about, those bracelets, you know, like the one that Charlie was wearing. They were at Freddy's, specifically Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. You know, they were distributed at that location. And then if you, like, hold the UV light that the kit comes with over the page, it has, like, a picture of Charlie, you know, from that minigame. So it is, like, confirmation that, yeah, she died at Freddy's, not Fredbear's. Charlie and the Puppet is my favorite, honestly, but my current is Ballora. I like her design and voice. Random fact. Ballora, underrated, I agree. Yeah, let me turn that down. Let me turn that down, actually. I might actually change it. One moment. Monies. YouTube subscribers. Sound value. I'll turn that, like, down. That way, it doesn't blare in everybody's ears. That should be good. Yippee! Okay, we'll go back to the video now.
Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character...
Okay, again, like, the issue here is that this is not how he looks in this poster from Security Breach. In the poster, it literally 5 seconds ago, this is what he looks like in, like, the actual game in that poster. He is a brown bear with, like, a black hat and bow tie. And then, like, the opposing poster that goes with this one is, like, Spring Bonnie as a yellow rabbit. But for whatever reason, Freddy here, or Fredbear, is a brown bear. What he does here...
An animal to a cartoonish...
This is just like the editors changing the color to go along with what he's saying. This is not what it looks like in the game, though. So, you know, if William was really like, oh, that thing that inspired me from when I was a kid, but I have to avoid copyright, why would he have the poster be Freddy and not, like, this version right here? So I think that's a little bit skewered.
Yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend.
Literally what I was just saying. This is like the yellow rabbit.
Yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. While Fredbear was certainly his first love, Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character
Isn't William Spring Bonnie? Yeah, that's the costume that he wears.
That he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough, with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is
and inspired so many years ago, and things could have ended there. That
There was... Okay. I was making sure you guys could hear it.
could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea, and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a
So, in his defense, like at the time, we didn't like know about it. Of course, Chica's Party World. I will say, in the context of this video when it came out, using Chica's Party World in any meaningful fashion is kind of like why. Like, again, this was something that popped up in like the source code of a teaser years ago, and it was never mentioned again. Maybe, no, I don't think it was ever mentioned beyond that minute thing. So trying to make sense of it, or trying to apply anything to it when it like borderline didn't exist. Basically, it existed only in name and not detail. It's kind of like, but with the hindsight of Secret of the Mimic, because Chica's Party World does come up again in Secret of the Mimic, and it is elaborated on much more. I don't think it was even, I'd have to look back at the logs, but at that time, Fazbear Entertainment was doing just fine. Actually, they were probably doing very well. They were getting ready to open another location. So, I know where he's gonna go here with this, and it's just not correct. It isn't. I understand, of course, that this came out like 2 years ago, and so, he could not have known what Chica's Party World actually was, but again, I will say, using Chica's Party World for anything, honestly, prior to, like, the knowledge that we have thanks to Secret of the Mimic, is kind of just, like, again, you could say anything, and you'd probably be closer to right than wrong, but because that's because we didn't have a right answer, but again, in hindsight, we do have an answer now, and it was probably, I can see, it probably was just like, I'd have to read the logs again and like what it says in the game. I think it was just like another Freddy's location. I think. It was like a Freddy's location without being a Freddy's location, because they were doing a Chica animatronic for the new Freddy's. That was like, that Edwin was working on for them or whatever. Anyway. Sorry, I got off track a bit. Everyone hates ads. Could someone tell me who made ads? They're annoying. The ads man. Was Glitchtrap Afton's first suit that he wore? No, I don't think so. I think the Glitchtrap being like a mascot suit with stitches and whatnot is just because the Mimic is used to wearing those types of suits, as we see in Secret of the Mimic and Ruin. It prefers to wear those like old styled mascot costumes that Edwin would make, as opposed to like what the kind of mascot suits that Fazbear Entertainment, like William or Henry, made. It wears like the real like fur without joints, actual fabric fur costumes. Me. Bonnie, something to do with that. He wore Spring Bonnie when he killed the 5 missing children. Yes, he did. By the way, Biscuit, no spam. Don't spam. Back in the old day, YouTube didn't have ads. Yeah, but then they got big. Stop dying, Biscuit. No spam.
Restaurant starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do.
Wrong! Anyway.
make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry...
Yeah, again, we know, just to specify, thanks to Secret of the Mimic, we know Henry was not behind Chica's Party World. He was with Afton doing Fazbear Entertainment at the time. And they, again, even in 1979, they were planning opening another location, Freddy Fazbear's, as we see in Secret of the Mimic. Chica's Party World was somebody else, and I think, honestly, if I recall correctly, Fazbear Entertainment probably just swooped in. Chica's Party World is just like another Freddy's it is a Fazbear Entertainment owned location. There you go. That's one option. The one option is that it's just a Fazbear Entertainment location without Freddy. Or B, it is like just another mascot, like a mascot character location that ultimately got bought out by Fazbear Entertainment, because I know we see Chica in the R&D department, meaning that she was probably either owned by Fazbear Entertainment already, or they had bought her. So at the part with Chica's Party World, huh? Honestly, I forgot what was in the video. I watched it years ago. Yeah, me too. I was traumatized by that one person who made those 18+ videos. Which ones? Are you talking about, like, the Frenny ones, or... William be sad even though he also stole it. I'm sad that somebody stole the idea that I stole, yeah. Watching this after Secret of the Mimic, something you don't want to do. Hey, Biscuit, no spamming.
In some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat...
Again, thanks to Secret of the Mimic, we know that this is also not true. In hindsight, hindsight 2020. 2020. The mediocre melodies, I do believe, was it mediocre melodies or was it Trash in the Gang? I might be a little bit wrong. Apologies in advance. It was either Trash in the Gang or the mediocre melodies. There was a log in Secret of the Mimic that it was Stan something, right? Because Stan is one of the people that logs are from. Either way, as the MCM is going downhill, some of the employees, I think it was Stan and somebody else in particular, they decide, hey, what if we steal these blueprints or plans for some characters, or what if we go, use them for our own benefit? And that's where you get the mediocre melodies. It wasn't something that Henry made. It was something that, it was a concept that, was just laying around in Edwin's, sea of projects or whatever. And when, the employees decided, let's jump ship before everything goes downhill. Again, that's where it came from.
Frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why'd it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fred Bear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay.
Can you examine Biscuit problem? I think he's dying. Well, let's see. Biscuit, you are diagnosed with death. It's fatal, unfortunately.
Okay, Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only...
yes, as Neo just pointed out, apparently William Afton has the monopoly on bears.
grow over the next couple of years as families continue to choose Chica's party world over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily.
Oh,
Another insult. Another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to...
What was I gonna say? Okay, this little, this is from the poster that he showed earlier, the one I was talking about, the posters with, you know, like, Spring Bonnie, the Yellow Rabbit guy, and then the Brown Bear. It's from Security Breach. Again, it's the text from the posters. Maybe it's just like a sort of stylistic type of decision for the sake of the visuals or whatever, but again, those posters are from Fredbear's Family Diner, but he had deposited that, you know, that version of Freddy or whatever was Fredbear as opposed to the actual brown bear that you see in the game, like, on that poster. It's just a little bit of, technically a minute detail, but again, it's kind of just stretching the line a bit, you know?
Feature a mix of
Doc, can I eat biscuit? Yeah, why not?
humans in performing suits, as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand, and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix...
Okay, again, it's a nitpick. It is a nitpick, but, you know, tapping on after appreciated that, it's assigning, you know, character emotion and character opinion to something that, you know, we don't know how he would have actually felt about that. You know, like, because, you know, Afton's an egotist and whatnot, sure, you say it makes sense for the character or something, but it's, again, it's assuming something that we know next to nothing about, actually, again. Of course, I understand that he's trying to paint, like, an actual story here for the sake of, you know, video format and being entertaining, but it's, you know, it's just not true, you know? Gotta rethink life. Good luck, Angel.
of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
What's so exciting about the Dell AI factory with NVIDIA is that they are empowering our engineers and our clinical team to be a part.
Crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
Again, just not true. Secret of the Mimic.
I am sorry.
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for
So yeah, it was Stan's budget tech, so it was the mediocre melodies that were, like, implied in Secret of the Mimic. Yeah, okay.
their chance to step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the Yellow Bonnie.
That's cursed, by the way. That is so cursed. That is evil, by the way. That is an evil model. It's just withered Bonnie with, like, Fnaf 1 Bonnie's face, but that's evil. Very, I mean, again, props to the editors. They put it on very cleanly, but that is just an evil render.
Money. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big, it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity...
Sorry, let me look at chat again. People are trying to eat me, Fridge, help me. By the way, hello, Fridge, thank you for joining. Hope you're having a good day or night, Fridge. Guys, Fridge is a long-time viewer of the channel. Pay your respects. Doc Fridge said I can't eat biscuit. Okay, never mind. Don't pay your respects to Fridge. Never mind.
would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, given a dedicated
A sister location? No, would Freddy's be a sister location to Fredbear's, technically? Oh, that's much quieter, thank God. Let me see, wait, who subscribed? Thank you, Pretty Fly Fashions, for subscribing. I don't know if it's technically true that Freddy's would be a sister location to Fredbear's, because isn't that just saying that's kind of like saying McDonald's from down the street is also a sister location to McDonald's, you know, like the next state over, they're both McDonald's. The sister location thing comes in when, like, you have Freddy Fazbear's, but then you have Circus Baby's Pizza World, which is like an entirely different restaurant compared to Freddy's, but it's still owned by the same company. TARDIS! Yep, that's the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. By the way, hello Kasumi, thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day or night. The fact Monty Gator, but he replaced a Rabbit's place.
home to all this new supporting cast of characters. Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear. Business was good, and Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only
Really? Again, it's assuming something about the character that we've never actually gotten his opinion on. We never, like, in no book, in no game, did we ever get something saying that William Afton was peeved that his character, his persona, wasn't included in a cartoon. That is so, like, I don't like it. It's a pet peeve of mine when people do this type of thing where, what do you mean? We're like, there's nothing that suggests this. This is headcanon. This is pure fan fiction. This is never said anywhere. This comes out of nowhere. Who's your favorite Doctor? My favorite Doctor is probably either Tom Baker or Peter Capaldi. Like, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. My biggest hyperfixations are generally Doctor Who and Fnaf, so you know I'm autistic. But yeah, I'm big into Doctor Who. That I've seen the classic series. I've seen, like, all of the modern series. I'm very familiar with Doctor Who. Okay, but why does Chica have so much teeth? Hungry. She fat. She needs to eat. Half of the video is headcanon without any evidence to back it up. Yeah, thank you, Fridge. I wish I could watch classic. It's hard to watch because it's hard to watch Doctor Who in general. It's not even on, like, Disney Plus. Or the newer episodes are on Disney Plus, but, you know, all, like, the older stuff, or even the modern series, you have to have, like, the BBC iPlayer. No one can eat me, okay? Just calm down. You know what? Just go crazy, y'all. I don't know, okay? I just don't want to watch it like a... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's different. It's just, like, it's old, you know? You have to be, like, into that type of stuff to, like, really sit down and dedicate the time to watch classic Doctor Who, because it's just so, like, not user-friendly.
character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show.
I'd eat Chica's cupcake. What that mean? What that mean? Sorry, excuse me. What do you mean by that, Faye? What do you mean that you're gonna eat Chica's cupcake? Excuse me? Come again? What do you mean by that?
But other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter.
Purple wife.
He had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and...
I like that visual. It's just like Henry working on something. You have it, William Afton like, "Woo, you go, Henry, woo." That's funny.
Easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5...
This is scuffed, by the way, because I know it's just Glitchtrap's silhouette, but with Toy Chica's head, and that is evil. That is like, oh my god, look, that is disgusting. And this is Glitchtrap too. They're all like Glitchtrap poses, but they have like the heads of different characters on them. Toy Bonnie, that's Withered Foxy. That's like Withered Freddy or something.
fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would
Like, look at this one. It's Withered Chica's head, but with Glitchtrap's body. Just imagine it. Like, literally, imagine it. That's so cursed.
design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why stop there? Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids? What if his mascot suits could become animatronics? What if you could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons? Why not experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure? The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself.
We didn't get no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It'd be like, oh, this metal and machine, all these wires and metal rods. Oh, I can control life itself. No, William didn't do that off the get-go. He wasn't like, oh, I just made a walking bear. Now I can control life itself and destiny. That's not what happened, buddy. He didn't, like, start thinking that type of mindset until at least somebody died, like the crying child, because then that's when you get into the whole, wait a minute, my child's dead, but things are happening around here now, and you get into, like, the whole crying child's agony and memory type of thing. You know, also, sure, you can also tack on, like, oh, after crying child died, Charlie's, you know, he killed Charlie, and that's when, like, you know, afterwards he started realizing, like, oh, wait a minute, these people that are dying are still kind of hanging around in some form. You know, there is something that happens prior to him thinking like, oh, I can control life itself and death and immortality. Do you know about the Lombardo books? Do you believe Dia has a single canon, or is everything in one nonsensical continuity? Oh, Longbarrow, you mean? I am familiar, yes. By the way, hello Kitty Luna. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day or night, whichever it is for you. Hope everyone's having a good day or night. I hope you're enjoying stream. Oh, by the way, to answer your question, Kasumi, nonsensical. Doctor Who has borderline no canon. But that doesn't mean that every decision Doctor Who makes is a good decision. Case in point, the most, like, recent season sucked ass. Specifically, the finale was just, like, so... It was bad. There's a lot of reasons. If I sat here and talked about why that finale was bad, this wouldn't be a FNAF stream, because I could talk to you for hours about why that sucked. It was just so bad. Anyway. Sorry. What if Henry Emily is actually Henry from Bendy and the Ink Machine? Wait, you're right.
And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival. To prove
I'm with stupid. I'm not gonna say he's wrong by any means here, because I can see a world where Afton did learn robotics just to one-up Henry. Like, that does makes, to be fair, saying that, headcanon, it makes logical sense, but it's not something that's ever specifically told to us. Not outright, anyway. But it is, like, weird that, wait a minute, Afton is framed as being, like, the business partner of the two. He's the guy that handles the business deals and whatnot, whereas Henry is, like, the technical genius making these animatronics. But like, later down the line, you do have, like, William Afton making the fun times and whatnot. And so it's like, okay, at what point was there, like, a shift for him? So, yeah, I can see a world where he's like, well, I want to one-up this other guy. Let me learn robotics and make my own. To that end, you know, to William Afton's credit, his designs were much more, like, advanced than Henry's were, so he kind of won that battle.
prove himself smarter and more capable.
Yeah, what's worse, RTD2 or Chibnall's Run? RTD2. Unironically, RTD2. Because I think it actually killed Doctor Who.
surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's Singin' Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point,
Blitzcrank is a champion that we knew from the beginning that we really wanted to have in our game.
We knew what was going to be our first.
Fredbear was an actual bear.
Sorry, I'm making you diverge from Fnaf a little right now. Just curious on your Doctor Who opinions. Oh, you're fine. I don't get to talk about Doctor Who on stream a lot because it's not something most people are familiar with, so I don't mind at all. It's always nice to like have something to talk about. I will say when it comes to Doctor Who, I will talk about it like it's politics, which is funny because FNAF is basically politics nowadays too. But I have some very strong opinions about Doctor Who, especially in recent years and whatnot. Doctor Who has not been a good show for like the past decade, like ever since 2017. Hey Doc, glad to see you streaming. I was getting worried. Oh yeah, thank you, Poop It Man, for stopping by. I'm doing alright. The reason I haven't been streaming the last few days is because I've been dealing with like a nasty few cavities in my mouth. Right now they're fine. They're kind of like off and on. But you know, like earlier today and yesterday, they were really annoying and agonizing. So, I've been trying to like deal with that. I took a few painkillers, so again, I'm doing decent at the moment, but that's why I kind of took a mild break from streaming. I'm gonna try and get back into it. That's why we're doing like a reaction stream tonight. But otherwise, oh, thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day, and I will check for this for you. Theory: after the real Fredbear died, they took the fur and used it on the animatronics. It is I, the real Fredbear. Reminds me of a day shift at Freddy's. I'm glad you're getting better. Thank you.
Like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s, and a series of...
But if it's like if it's a family-owned thing, it could have been passed down. I could... See, this is how I see it, so... If you really want to talk about Fredbear's Singin' Show, I think it is something that would have been passed down through, like, the Afton legacy type of thing. But at some point, Afton being the visionary that he is, he spots this guy, maybe for whatever reason, you know, whatever it might be, Henry Emily, real techie guy, very skilled with robotics, and so he's like, wait a minute, hello, do you want to, you know, we can make some money together, you know, we could really start a business. So he's like, okay, let's stop using real singing bears and let's graduate to like robots, mascots, and whatever. And that's when he brings Henry on to like make this new thing together or whatever. That's how I see it, because William Afton is like that savvy businessman, charming fellow. That's what makes sense in my head. However, saying that, again, I reiterate that it's conjecture at the end of the day, because we know next to nothing about what Fredbear's Singing Show is and how William and Henry actually met. It just, in my head, personally, I see this as probably being a family-owned business that was passed down. Let me look at chat real quick. What if Fredbear is actually Bendy from Bendy? No. Chibnall started the downhill spiral and RTD completely destroyed it after it. Yeah. It's a shame, really, because there's some good episodes in RTD too. Like, I actually really liked The Lucky Day. I really liked, Dot and Bubble. There's a lot of, like, good episodes. Lux was, like, you know, Lux actually popped off. It was on Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter. TikTok. Like, Mr. Ring-a-Ding got big on TikTok or whatever. And it was, like, the modern-day version of Blink or something, people were saying. Like, it did really... There was some great episodes. It was unironically, both of the finales of those seasons were just so bad that they ruined it. Like, it goes to show... Season 2, in particular, was, like, a very strong run of episodes. Like, people are, wow, these are like the best Doctor Who episodes in recent years. But then, like, the last 3 episodes of the season was so ass. It is insane. And it killed the show. Time to go bald, or good luck to you, Poop It Man.
Pizza restaurants in the 80s without him just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the singing show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's singing show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear singing show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love.
Again, I don't think Afton was ever like, I just want to bring smiles and joy to children. Well, I don't think he was ever, at his core, a nice person at all. He was always, like, an egotist. He was always arrogant. He was always kind of self-absorbed and, you know, self-important. He was never like, oh, I'm doing this for others as opposed to not doing it for myself. That's not who Afton is.
Of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before anime.
Again, it's just like the mimic's preference. Like, I feel like this is taking Glitch Trap a bit too literally. Just because he appears in, like, digital form in Help Wanted and whatnot, doesn't mean he was ever actually a costume. It was just, like, that's the mimic making its Afton persona, but it's also still, like, being faithful to the actual costumes Mimic would wear.
Electronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to it. So while Fredbear seems to have started as someone else's creation, Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy, Fredbear, was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters.
This video came out before Ruin? Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit, was it before Ruin? Oh, yeah, no, it was before Ruin. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the mediocre melodies. For a while now, I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're gonna—
To be fair, the whole Ned Bear, Fredbear thing, I think it is, like, a way to avoid copyright from Fazbear Entertainment. It's just not from, like, again, Henry did not make these guys. It is, like, it was Stan, you know, people that worked at the MCM, like, in Secret of the Mimic. It is them avoiding copyright by calling it Ned Bear instead of Fredbear. By the way, hello, Void Golem Gaming, thank you for subscribing.
I have to justify with any media.
Doc, how do you feel about this war right now? I am Switzerland. I am Switzerland. Do anything of this is relevant to Ruin? Help 1 2 2 that we didn't have yet. Yeah.
Mediocre melodies mention. 1, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that at minimum.
I don't think we're given a particular year for when the mediocre melodies might have existed. We just know that they were conceptualized in, like, latest 1979.
Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So
Lock in a free phone every year for the next 3 years. Guaranteed.
if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic. So it just
Again, they are not. But again, I do understand that this video came out, like, again, before Secret of the Mimic, before Help Wanted 2, before even Ruin came out. So, like, you can't fault it too much for saying some stuff. It's just like, again, hindsight is 2020. This is not correct. But at the time, you know, he did not have these pieces that we do now.
To be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously. He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matpat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this
I've had like the mic audio, like the quality dropped when it's like, future Matpat here. Anyway, Kasumi, is there a alien Doctor Who that was just a bowling alley similar to the library and the Doctor ladder there? Wait. Oh god, no, Doctor Who got me tired. It doesn't come to mind if there is a bowling alley one. That'd be funny though, I wouldn't be surprised. Doctor Who is weird like that. What issue is happening there? You have to save the bowling pins from extermination.
I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call
yeah, the off-brand bear, of course.
Call out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear.
That bear looks a little familiar. Is it possible he's an imitation of Freddy Fazbear, altered just enough to avoid any copyright issues? But he is wearing a regular tie instead of a bow tie, so obviously completely different. Unlike most of the mediocre melodies, Nedbear has an entertainment score of more than 4. He has 5, but he also comes with a liability score of 1. Yeah, so yeah, it calls it out that he's a number 1. The character encyclopedia is kind of iffy to take from to begin with, but yeah, it does call him an off-brand bear, which does feed into the idea that these are characters that we're trying, like, they are offshoot of Freddy Fazbear. Do you know that people make Doctor Who FNAF art? Looks alright. Impossible.
Their crew.
If Doctor Who spends 5 nights at Freddy's.
Quote from one of the pages. Nedbear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point, the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr.
Doc, how do you feel about this World War III going on right now? I am Switzerland.
Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with 2 rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters, merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here.
I know what he's talking about, I've seen this come up before, but I think, again, with the hindsight of Secret of the Mimic, it's just not... It goes into the whole like how much real life evidence should we actually use when it comes to like the history stuff and whatnot, and where do we draw the boundary line for that, you know? And it's like, again, we're talking about a video game series at the end of the day. Again, it's good supporting evidence, but as you know, time has revealed, it's just like it's not always the most reliable thing, because at the end of the day, the series is not going to abide by total real-world logic or history. Okay, go now. Have a great night, Doc. Thank you for stopping by, Poopit Man. Have a good night. Doc, what would you use to end this war? A nuclear bomb. I would nuke you all. I would drop an atomic bomb on you. All of you, gone. Guys, just eat biscuit, and when he comes back, I'll spawn kill him. Oh, Call of Duty.
But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things, actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing system.
Yes, I don't know what, I kind of forget where he's going, but just off the top of my head. And like, literally, this is the, prior to Secret of the Mimic, this was the only instance of Chica's Party World being mentioned. I mentioned that earlier. But what it says here, so it says, yeah, Chica's Party World, and then it says private B-Day booking, children and B-Day props novelties, and what was, and then, yeah, here, Client Directive 3, Criminal Institute, or CRMN Inst. I saw a theory a little while ago that it's not criminal, it's actually something else. It could be Child Remnant Instructor or something. Oh, why am I tired? I took a nap prior to this. It's because I'm talking so much. Don't forget to breathe. Anyway, sorry. All of these things are... The presumption is that these are places that the Funtime animatronics are being shipped out to. So you have, you have Funtime animatronics being shipped to Chica's Party World, you have them going to a private B-Day booking, and you have whatever this is. The inclination would be that these places are A, like renting out these animatronics, or B, they are all owned by the same company, and they are just like kind of choosing where to send them, possibly. I guess because it's this location, and when we know that Chica's Party, I think it would be A. The option would be A. It's just that it's just owned by, well, I can get it. It's just like because it's Chica, and by the time of sister location, Fazbear Entertainment definitely owns the character of Chica, unless somehow the rights fell back to like the original owner, but I don't know about that because because both in FNAF 3 and FNAF 6, Chica's there, so Fazbear Entertainment has to own Chica. So yeah, it's just like it's shipping to it's shipping to a restaurant that they already own, and presumably it would be the same thing for technically. I guess private B-Day booking could be anything, but sorry, let me look at chat. If the doctor spent 5 nights at Freddy's, how would they deal with the animatronics? Would they use it? Yeah, I mean, it's actually so simple. Just point the sonic screwdriver at them, and then they're done for. They're finished. Let me look. Doc, what would you use to end this war? Doc, my brain is too fried to understand that. Atomic bomb. Atomic bomb. Bomb you all. Bomb. Doc, you should try Biscuit's family out. Biscuit, try their family out. Ah, delicious.
Location, so it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better.
I don't know if that's true or not. Like, I don't know. I haven't read Puppet Carver, so I'm not going to say much about that. But it could, A, Matpat maybe was like misinterpreting some of the details. B, the mediocre melodies, as we do see in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, they could have eventually been like picked up by Fazbear Entertainment. Yes, Biscuit, what do you need? What do you want? What can I help you with?
With a theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location. A detail.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Funtime Chica exists. And I mean, she also could be. I guess maybe she isn't the Springlock suit. Sure.
That's bothered
Uses atomic bomb on everyone except Frigid. Atomic bomb.
me for years at this
Bomb
point.
chat.
It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are
No.
very spread out across the franchise that
No.
I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years.
Also, someone left a comment out. Sorry, someone said something very important. They said Chica is fat as fuck, and that's correct. That was Smiling Critters, by the way. Thank you. I meant to read that before, but I almost forgot. Thank you, Chica on screen, for reminding me.
Years. So, with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation, Part 2, the Afton era. I promise, it will actually be next week this time. No more waiting around. I am just as eager to get this one out the door as you are to watch it. I promise. You know what else I promise? I promise that we'll actually get to talking about the games. I would have liked to have talked about them in this episode, but there just isn't that much in the games that helps us depict anything pre-Family Diner. Although, let's be honest, this franchise has never been just about the games anyway. Even back in the early days of FNAF, we were decoding images and source code that Scott fed us through the website. The modern day books and the clues that we get from those things, now they're just
It's like the evolution of that concept, but I do miss back in the day when we would get teasers, like, I say regularly, I guess, yeah, there was regularly, considering how fast those games were coming out, but I miss when we got teasers more like that. They don't do them anymore. They never did them for Secret of the Mimic. They did it for Security Breach. They did, like, have teasers on Scott Games and whatnot, but they never did it for, I think they had, like, maybe one teaser for Ruin, but they didn't do it for Help 1 and 2. They didn't do it for Secret of the Mimic. They just don't do them anymore. It's a shame, because it's, like, a fun way to do lore and whatnot, and it's just always cool to see.
modern extensions of that. All of it is crucial to understanding this franchise and its lore. Unless, of course, Steel Wool finally gets around to making that Fredbear's Family Diner game they want to make so
well, here we are now, folks. We have Secret of the Mimic. Anyway, part 2.
So you want to be a software engineer? Go to boot.dev, make a free account.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and officially page 7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered
Good
the
God.
origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood.
Doc was solving things with beer. Want some? Why not? You know what? I have iced tea next to me. I'm gonna pretend it's beer. Oh, delicious.
Dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving, the world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways of bringing characters to life. Bringing things to life. Yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there is inevitably death, something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But before Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel. Guys, this is a huge moment for us theorists. For the last decade,
I was always surprised that it was clothing theory that they went with, or like fashion theory, whatever it's called. It was never something that appealed to me necessarily. I felt like that's a niche. Like, of course, game theory, film theory, totally understand. Food theory was kind of weird in my opinion, but you know, I get it. Clothing theory. I was surprised they didn't go with, like, book theory or something. I mean, I don't know, maybe book theory isn't necessarily the most enticing, I suppose. Or, like, comic, I guess comic theory could fall, then again, I say clothing's an odd choice, but I don't know what else they would have gone with either, so.
we've had this 4-player controller icon.
I know, music, the issue with music is copyright stuff, of course. They wouldn't be able to do music, unfortunately.
And now we finally fill in the final missing piece. Get ready for the rollout of our newest Theorist channel. Drumroll, please.
Freddy Fazbear.
Style Theory, where we're looking at the science, math, psychology, history, and mystery of the way you look, your clothing, fashion trends, hygiene, and makeup.
I thought that was something else for a minute. Oh, God.
Now, I know that theorizing about style might sound weird at first, but hear me out. I grew up not understanding style or fashion at all. Admittedly, I was a bit of a hot mess, blissfully ignorant to the impact that style has over your life and how the world treats you. But over time, by educating myself on the ins and outs of the fashion industry, I was better able to achieve my true self and find my own sense of personal style. And that right there, that builds confidence. The way that you look directly affects the way that you feel and the way that other people treat you. So understanding those rules and being able to take some control over all of that is incredibly valuable. It's an
Here's a question for people in chat. What kind of style do you think you have? I actually, personally, when I go out, when I'm going to, like, dinner with people, or when I'm going to parties or something, I like to wear suits. I have, like, I can't show you an example, of course, but, you know, I have a variety of suits in my closet. I have ties, bow ties, suit jackets, various different colors and textures and whatnot. I have a purple suit, I have a red suit, I got a blue one, I got a gold one, I got like black with like gold trimming. What kind of style do you lot have?
educational
I wear
curve.
the same thing every day. Technically I do too, especially when I'm not going out, you know, when I'm not touching grass. I kind of just hang in like lazy clothing. I'll wear my pajamas all day.
And what do we do on these channels? We like to educate you while entertaining you, which honestly is why I think this channel is so important for us to
I wear suits? That's cool.
launch. There are so many lies and half-truths in the fashion industry that there needs to be someone out there to say, hey, this is right, this is wrong, and this is what science says. Also, you know, we're gonna have a lot of fun because talking about fashion is weird. Like, this channel has already given me the excuse to bludgeon a ballistic head to death using a high heel. It's also the channel where we're gonna physically be practical everyday stuff too on this channel. Do school uniforms actually benefit the students? Does it make a difference?
No. No, probably not.
It's whether or not you wash your legs in the shower. That's the sort of stuff
Matpat'S should have made gay theory. They theorize about what people are gay.
that you can find on this new channel. In fact, there are 5 new episodes that you can check out right after you finish this beast of an upload. I personally recommend starting with the Killer Heel episode because this episode's all about the birth of a killer. And while you're over there, consider subscribing. It'll do all of us over here a huge favor, because if we manage to get 1 million subscribers by the end of the month, it'll put us as a top fashion
Adobe Acrobat Studio is all new. What can PDF spaces with AI do? Drag in research, drop in thoughts. Watch AI pull insights from your
fashion channel here on YouTube. Show the world that looking smart can be even better than looking cool. So go ahead, enjoy your all-day theory marathon. And now with our logo complete, it's time to complete our other massive ongoing project, this timeline. Onward to part 2, where things are about to get dark in a hurry.
The After Era.
1983, business was booming with 2 whole restaurant franchises running, Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these 2 men, a human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy.
I will say, this one's a bit of a give and take for me. So, generally, I kind of believe that the Fredbear plush that follows the crying child around in Fnaf 4. I think it's just an imaginary friend in like inside his head or whatever. Mostly anyway. Like maybe there is a physical plush that exists, but like, you know, when you see it in like the sunflower thing, or when you see it in the gutter, that's probably just his imagination. But like maybe like the one at home or whatever, like that is a real plush or something. Anyway, however, I have kind of thought about the fact that The plush does say, "I will put you back together." Sorry. The plush says, "I will put you back together," and then, in, one of Springtrap's lines is, "Let's see how many times you can be pulled apart and put back together again." And then in Michael's speech from Sister Location, he says, "Father, I did what you asked, blah, 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 blah. I put her back together just like you asked me to." Which implies that whatever way, like William told Michael to go down there and help his sister, he used the term or phrase, "put her back together," somehow anyway. So it is a line spoken by William primarily. I do think, to be fair, I think Nightmare Fredbear also says something like it in Ultimate Custom Night, but that's it's repeating what the plush says or whatever. But the fact that it comes from William at all, I think, is telling, and it is pretty strong evidence to suggest that it is William talking from the plush. But also, maybe it's kind of goes both ways, where there is a physical plush that William is speaking through, and then there was also like an imaginary friend that he kind of like follows him around or whatever. Because again, I doubt William is going to put a plush inside a sunflower. I don't think he was doing that. Let me look at chat real quick. Hello, Divine Gill. Hello, original username. I goon to the robot. You're evil. You're evil. Get ready for the downfall. Your chat is beer. Yeah, I know. You're all alcoholics, by the way. Why are you all drinking beer? You're all like addicted. This is like not gonna go well for you guys down the line. You guys go like, beer. Now you get to actually drink it, and you're gonna become not drug addicts. Hopefully not alcoholics. Hopefully you don't become alcoholics. So try to avoid that. Well, beer addicts except oh yeah, Fridge is the biggest drug and alcohol addict. He's winning that battle. I goon to fictional countries. Okay, well, never mind. You're a freak. Freaks. The lot of you.
Psychic friend Fredbear. I mean, plushie Fredbear. But since
Psychic friend Fredbear. I remember when Fnaf 4 came out and he made that theory. I loved, like, the concept of Psychic friend Fredbear.
Cameras...
Who's the most attractive doctor in your opinion? Let me think about that one. Paul McGann. Paul McGann, Shooty Gatwa. Probably Jodie Whittaker, actually. Jodie Whittaker's very pretty. But Shooty Gatwa is just a beautiful man. I'm gonna stop there.
Just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his
Yes, Fang?
eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the...
Yeah, I don't plan to drink beer, it's just a joke in the chat. Yeah, I know. Of course.
Kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped.
GFL 2 is a game that
I always find it's funny. Maybe not.
Combines the strategic complexity of turn-based squad combat with rich character progression.
The boy went limp.
Was that the bite of 87? I always find it funny how people are like, oh, he lost his frontal lobe. Brother, that does not look like the frontal lobe. That looks like his entire skull got crushed. That poor boy just got bumble-dumbled by Fredbear's jaws. His entire head got turned to mush. That is not just the frontal lobe. That was his entire face. He is disfigured. He is deformed. He got annihilated. That is not the frontal lobe. On the top of, like, the tears or whatever causing the spring, I think it was just like, it doesn't matter. It's just like, whatever. Sorry. I don't think it was, like, the tears necessarily that caused the spring locks to go off. I think it's just the fact that he was shoved into an animatronic's jaw as it was, you know, performing. It bit down. But again, it's kind of just minute detail. He dies either way.
But it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what, Williams' son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now,
that's the thing about, like, saying that William is the speaker through the plushie, is that it's implying when he says, I will put you back together, that he already kind of had a plan, or, like, he would, like, oh, I'm gonna find a way to bring my son back to life. Well, that just, again, William was never that caring of his family. William is not the type of character that's like, oh, I'm doing this for the greater good, or I'm doing this to save my family, or whatever. That's not William Afton's character. That's just, like, how people misinterpret his actions. That's why it's much more believable to say that, oh, it is just an imaginary friend, like, in his head or whatever, telling him this or something. And, like, maybe it is, like, something that gained sentience and sentience and awareness when, like, because of his agony or something. Because, you know, in Fnaf, agony and stuff, you know, emotions has power to it, especially emotions like agony, or sensations like agony and pain and whatnot. They are very strong, so they can give, I hesitate to say life to things, but they can leave an imprint, which is, you know, the whole concept of, like, shadow victim and memory victim. Let me look at chat real quick. I'm another boy. Anyway, bye-bye, Biscuit. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed stream. Have a good night. What's wrong with women wearing suit, Biscuit? Women in suits, that's cool. Bye-bye. Play hard if you are attracted to Matpat. I'm not confirming nor denying.
He just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands.
You know what else is hot? I wouldn't know.
To prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's springlock failure,
my name is Edwin. I made the mimic.
All the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work. Every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse, complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life.
To be fair, I do prefer Michael to be the runaway in Midnight Murderist. I think that makes the most, like, sense to me. But it's also, Midnight Murders is just, like, such a weird mini game in general. It's hard to really come up with a concrete, firm, clear answer.
Suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break
Grip, stability.
Imagine being sad about killing kids. Come on. Yeah, honestly, get over it, dude.
out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that
What's the one meme? Oh, we're sorry to hear about the loss of your brother. We'll give you 5 big booms. Boom, a boom, a boom, a boom, a boom.
his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had stolen his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered one.
Yeah, you guys probably relate to William a lot, drinking endless amount of beer in chat. I wonder if there was a reason that the doctor took Susan when he stole the TARDIS. Apparently Susan didn't exist if you ask RTD, but you know. William, you technically killed your son because you're bad supervision, bro. Yeah. William's an alcoholic, and I thought he couldn't get more cool.
More drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other...
Also, Doug, I was the one speaking through the plush. No, you weren't. If that were true, then the crying child would be like a drug addict.
Problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts. And in that moment,
to be fair, I do believe that, like, William killed Charlie in, like, a drunken stupor or whatever, out of, like, jealousy and envy. Again, I don't think it's because, like, how I picture William Afton is that, like, he has a family in order to keep up, like, this perfect image of a normal life, you know? Like, oh, look at my perfect nuclear family. I have 2 sons and a daughter and a wife. I'm a, you know, successful businessman. You know, it's an idea of, like, to the public eye, appearing to have that perfect familial life. Whereas, but it's empty, you know, it's shallow, because, you know, it's not, it is like a construction. It is a construct in order to keep up that facade of being a normal person. Blah, 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 blah. English is hard. But so, like, when his son dies, and now that kind of perfect family image is ruined, he takes it out on someone who who he is jealous and envious of, which is Henry. So he kills Charlie, like, haha, now you're screwed too, or something, however you want to put it. So yeah, like, to an extent, I see where he's, like, coming from, of course. But it's just, I think, again, William Afton is not, by the way, hello, thank you, Gamer154 for subscribing. William's just not a character who, like, cares about his family or whatever, like some people think he does.
William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners.
Yeah, again, I mentioned it earlier. Charlie did in fact die at Freddy's, not Fredbear's. So, the crying child, I said Charlie, right? I think I said Charlie. Charlie died at Freddy's, not Fredbear's, and then the crying child died at Fredbear's, and that's what closed Fredbear's down.
In such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get...
Which is interesting. On the topic of Charlie dying at Freddy's instead of Fredbear's, that means at least, like, at minimum, 6 kids died at Freddy's. But, you know, the first death was not the one reported or whatever. Like, it didn't pick up the traction yet, you know, in the YouTube algorithm. In the Utah algorithm of news. Like, Charlie's death kind of went under the radar, maybe. Or, you know, that's just, like, they didn't care. But, you know, when the other 5 children go missing and whatnot, they're like, where did those children go? You know, the ones of, you know, the bodies that we never found. Because presumably Charlie's body was found. It was just left there in the alley, but...
retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic
Also, this is incorrect, by the way. The Springlock suits were retired at Freddy's. Like, after Fredbear's closed, they just moved them to Freddy's, and they would still use them. It was in, like, 1985 that they eventually got, like, discontinued prior to, like, the missing children's incident. Because, like, the tapes say, like, what was it? The Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved. Which, you know, it entails that, William Afton got that suit, he put it on, he's about to use it. So... you know.
Memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him, all for him.
Yeah, that picture does, yeah, that's from the character encyclopedia. So in there, he has, like, a physical plushie.
Right? But cameras weren't enough.
Boom, most of New Who is basically fanfiction, in a sense, you know, because RTD, Muff, and Chibbers were all fans back in the olden days, before I was even born. Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes, especially, you know, recent years, it feels like fanfiction, unfortunately. What a shame.
He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares.
He's talking about sound illusion discs. And again, was it out yet? What was it called? What was the book called? It was the final book in the Tales from the Pizzaplex series. What was the book? It wasn't no, it wasn't Somnifobia. Somnophobia? I forget the name of the book now. Dittophobia, that was the name of it. Dittophobia. It implies, but pretty much outright says that it wasn't illusion discs Afton was using, it was, fear gas. It was, you know, scarecrow-esque hallucinogenic fear gas is what he was using. It's the same kind of thing at the end of the day, you know, it achieves the same result. It's just, you know, like, it's just, you know, different or whatever. We see that there was, like, if you look in Sister Location, through, like, the private room cameras, there is a room that has, like, gas canisters in it, and that's probably what, like, the fear gas was. I'm really, really high right now. That's nice, Fridge. Purple guy fursuit, you need one. It changed me. Bye-bye. I'm out. I had fun. Bye-bye, original username. Thank you for stopping by.
Nightmares far scarier than he could create with...
Smash or pass Nightmare? Smash.
actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares.
Do you think when Michael Afton killed the crying child, do you really think Afton was like, oh my god, how could you disappointment, you're shameful, you're humiliating, I hate you, get tortured in my experiment chamber? Or do you think William Afton was like, oh, good job, son, you took your first victim, they like give him a pat on the back?
Illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls when there's music in my halls? All I see is an empty room, no more joy, an empty tomb.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him, and he wanted more.
You'll still have common days.
I see.
Put off your
Oh god, not that.
June 26th, 1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the
The FNAF characters I would smash are Phone Guy, Nightmare, Arnold, and most of all Edwin. I almost read that as, and mostly, like, most of Edwin, as if there were multiple Edwins to smash. Okay, wait, here's a question for people in chat. I brought it up before, but I gotta bring it up again. What are your hear me outs? Because I know, like, Fridge has told me his before, but we have some new people in chat tonight. What are your wildest hear me outs? I know someone said nightmares, so, you know, that's a wild one already. 6-7 is dead, my guy. Nah, get rid of 6-7. We gotta talk about 14 theory. Put 14 in the chat. No, don't. Well, do it if you want, but don't spam it. I wish there were multiple Edwins to smash. So many Edwins, so little time. By the way, hello Abraham. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day or night, whichever it is for you. How about 68? Nah. 14. 14. The number 14. Don't ask why, but it makes sense. Trust me, it's a FNAF reference. 14. Take the into the timeless child. Come into my experiment chamber, except she probably pretended to care at least a little. Tech2 William Afton confirmed. My hear me out is probably Matpat'S. Nah, that's understandable. 69? Hear me out. Mussolini was hot before he went bald and fascist. What wild. Wild. Ballora, the puppet, Nightmare, Golden Freddy, Mrs. Afton, Funtime Foxy, Glamrock Chica, and Toy Chico, and Toy Bonnie are my hear me outs. Roxanne Wolf. What's my hear me out? The Xenomorph from Alien. Hear me out, guys, hear me out. The Xenomorph from Alien. I always forget. I'm not gonna say a FNAF character because I'm gonna get, I'm not that, it crosses into a territory. You know what, actually? Dolly from Secret of the Mimic, I'll say that one. That and Jackie. Jackie's baller. There's some hear me outs.
back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first.
Have you guys seen Fiona from Secret of the Mimic? How did Edwin, that nerdy son of a gun, land Fiona? Like, god damn!
Never truly forget your first.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed. Stuffed inside of the suits. No one maintained those things anyway except for him. And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next. But it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one were all...
Come with me, little child. I'm kidnapping you. Okay, sir. Just imagine that he just comes up to a child like, hello, I'm kidnapping you. Please come with me. You're like, oh, okay. Hello, Carol. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Carol, for subscribing. Have you seen the behind of her? What? Oh, you're talking about Toy Chica. Oh, you're freaks, all of you. A lot of you.
Pretense was off. He let himself get violent.
You guys don't understand the appeal to mangle. I was definitely not the one who burned their home. I believe you.
Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back.
Okay, wait. Do we have any Pokemon fans in chat? Anyone familiar with Pokemon? If you are, what's your hear me out Pokemon? What's your smash or pass Pokemon?
Of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others. He'd let himself go too far. That one he should have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long forgotten.
By the way, hello Damon Vaughn. Thank you for joining. Hope you're having a good day or night. Hello Average Roblox Ranter. Thank you for joining. Hope everyone's having a good day or night. Whichever it is for you.
Yellow Fredbear. Now,
don't smash or pass what Pokemon? Like which Pokemon? Never mind. Maybe I should stop. I should stop.
Now broken and discolored with age.
Professor Oak. You're done for.
Like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back. But they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had...
I'd take Roy from Amy, at least on early Series 5, where she wanted to... yeah. When it comes to Pokemon, see... No, oh, never. I thought... Okay. I was always weirded. I asked that question, but honestly, I never understood people's appeal to Pokemon, but I guess it's type of like a... I don't know, maybe it delves into like the furry territory, maybe. But then again, we're talking about Fnaf, so you know, maybe it's not that wild.
Was circumstantial at best, and so he walked away a free man.
Ash's mom? That's fair. That's understandable.
But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics, inspired by the toys that they had been selling years ago. But these guys...
That's also a question, too, is like, when does William Afton get outed from the company? Because in FNAF 2, he feels inclined to go undercover at Freddy's, presumably with an alias, and as a security guard. So if he was still, like, part of the company, he probably wouldn't have to do that, right? So the assumption would be is he is not directly involved with the company currently. But also, to be fair... Oh, fuck. But also, to be fair, I guess it also depends... Because Fazbear Entertainment... Circus Babies Entertainment... It depends on when you think the Funtime animatronics were also made. Because, like, if they were made in, like, 1985 or something, that's when Afton was still involved with the company. But it could also be that, like, oh, you're just not allowed at Freddy Fazbear's, but you're still, like, the co-founder or something. I guess that's also a question, is just, like, it's just something we don't know, like, what kind of conversation took place? Was it, like, a board of directors? Was it that scene from Spider-Man, like, the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, where they're, like, they vote, like, Norman Osborn out, and he stands there, like, you know how much I sacrificed? I started this company! Was it, like, something like that, or was it just like, hey, can you, like, you can't be on the premises while there's an investigation going on or something? It's because it is possible that he was still part of the company at this point. We just don't know. Question, why is Toy Foxy in FNAF World called Funtime Foxy? I wish I knew the answer, buddy, but who knows? Welcome back, Biscuit. Actually, Sycamore?
These were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator.
But I guess, I mean, did they ever detect William Afton? I guess that also would imply that he maybe is not in that system, because he was never, like, it said he was convicted. Oh god.
Mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were...
Headphone user Adam, shout out please. Shout out to headphone user Adam, thank you for stopping by. They defend you from predators. Yeah, they don't do a good job though, because William Afton still killed a bunch of kids. Also, question, is Trash in the Gang important in any way? Not really. They just exist.
Moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him? That was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call.
You thanked me for joining so I can't leave. You're trapped here. You're never leaving. A 24-hour stream. Nah, you can go if you want. I'm not gonna, like, keep you here or anything. You can go. That's funny, though. It's just like, you thanked me for being here, now I can never go. Dang it, one of my favorite FNAF characters is Bucket Bob. That's so fair. What was it? Pan Stan! #1 crate!
Go back. Not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him. A lowly day shift security guard. And there it was, buried in the back.
So, like, do you think William Afton put on, like, a mustache or something? Like, no, he goes there as a security guard, and nobody's like, wait a minute, you look kind of familiar. Don't you own the fucking company? And then he's just like, no, my name's, Steve Raglan, or, like, Dave Miller. You know, and then he, like, twirls his mustache or something. And he's like, oh, everybody, you know, literally everybody's like, oh, never mind, it's just, that's Dave from down the street, he just works here. I would, $100 to risk dying isn't worth it. I would never do FNAF 4. Oh, wait, I already left it, but I'm back. FNAF. Okay, here's another question for people in chat. If you had to choose one, which Five Nights at Freddy's would you want to try and survive at? You know, like, if you were in a FNAF game, which one would you want to, like, be in and try to survive? Personally, I would pick FNAF 6, actually.
Of parts and services.
Nutrition shouldn't be a worry. Enfamil Neuro...
FNAF 6 only because the concept of owning my own pizzeria is actually really fun. Like, oh my god, I'm so putting Pan Stan on #1 crate on the
Pro supports
stage.
their brain with benefits shown to last. Find out how.
Oh god. Ads.
Mixed in with the old withered animatronic.
FNAF 3 for me. 3? Damn, a lot of 3s. What if he said he was Purple Guy and not Purple Guy? FNAF 9, that'd be security breach, right? Pizza Simulator, because I could just choose to throw out the animatronics. You can't do that. I would choose to put them all in there. And then, I guess at the end of the week, burn alive.
Was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move.
Oh, Dave, it's like when the police were looking for the security guard working there, did he just rip off his mustache? And he's like, I haven't seen him, officers. I think he went that way. It's funny. Maybe that's why he, maybe that's how he avoided the criminal recognition software that the toy animatronics had. You know, he just put on like a disguise or whatever. They're like, where'd he go?
To the day shift. A position just became available.
1987, 5
I like that William needs to pay child support short. Thank you, headphone user Adam.
more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids.
Part 2 of child support. I don't have a necessarily like a part 2, but if you're interested in those animations, I have more like that on my channel. Like I did one recently where it's Springtrap talking to Fredbear and it uses Monster Inc. audio. It's like, I'll kill 1,000, like I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die. I have more like that. I have another animation coming out this Friday.
Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for
pronounce the puppet
him?
as male
William's
or female?
curiosity was stronger now than
male. The animatronic character, I feel like, is either just like kind of they, them, or male. But the soul that possesses it is female. To be fair, it speaks in I guess it's just Charlie. The Charlie is, of course, female. I think it's one of the things where it's like, the gender doesn't particularly matter. The one with Springtrap and his mom. You mean, his wife? Because that's like, the below is supposed to be his wife.
his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of
I always come back. I do Springtrap impression videos too if you've seen them. They're on my channel.
Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World. This would be the place where he could continue his work. No longer just murdering, experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them for his work. With that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic.
Also, Sorry, just wanted to see real quick.
And preserving them for his work. With that
light activation sensor, parental voice sync and replay, variable scent release, sorry. Remote floor anchor, see Circus Baby Directive 07. Okay.
Goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped.
This is my biggest problem with the video. Which part? Like, specifically, Nosy gonna be in FNAF 10. Wouldn't FNAF 10 be Secret of the Mimic? Because we're like, we're quite a few games deep now. I think we're on like FNAF 27 at this point. Pick any FNAF character. They are protecting you from Nightmare. Shadow Freddy, because Shadow Freddy is Nightmare. So I'm just gonna use Nightmare against Nightmare. I've been off and on. To be fair, this part is probably like the least controversial, we'll say. Although, like, again, I don't agree with like how they put William's motivations necessarily. It's a fine part. Why are two different Funtime Foxes? It never makes me upset, and I have plushies of both.
Them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires of Henry's designs. And the characters he chose for this were uniquely his. His new roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard.
Suck in my own trap, bones are someone has to finish it. Stuck in my own trap, bones are cracked as my lungs collapse. Remember that I always come back.
Bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as two special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his baby in mind, Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the...
Show your search history of face reveal. No.
Day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
Brian Dawkins here, and I know all about safety, like how AAA protects you with expert roadside assistance. And on the plus side, MVP members get 15%.
The day before Circus Baby's Pizza World opened, she disobeyed.
Guys, what if I revealed, what if I did a gallbladder reveal? Or what if I revealed my beating heart?
She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat there at the foot of the stage, he noticed that something was different. The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's. Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time.
Yeah, I mean, 1993 is like the year a lot of people agree upon when it comes to FNAF 1. But to be, he says the AR facts from like the ones that are unused, the ones that were cut from special delivery. You could just say like the like the FNAF 3 like the minimum wage check thing, and then like the FNAF 3 Steam page. Like that'd probably be more solid evidence, like, to back that claim.
With those old original animatronics from so long ago, but Williams
got to go. Bye-bye original username. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed stream. Have a good day or night, whichever it is for you. Damon asks, wait, who made Funtime Chica? William Afton did. Well, probably anyway, because it is a Funtime animatronic. It was either William Afton or was like maybe Phasm Entertainment made it, but I would probably imagine William Afton did. You are welcome. See you next time. Is William alive to date? As in like 2025? No. In terms of like FNAF timeline, he dies like in 2023.
Damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret. It had to contain the remnants of life itself. But he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to 1 silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly...
To his credit, I actually do agree with kind of like how he's explaining this. I do think this is what Afton did. However, I would also say that I still think I'm putting aside my headcanon for a minute. Did he come back like night after night to the old? It doesn't really matter either way. Like, it's, you know, either way the job gets done. But I think it is maybe. Did he come back to Freddy's night after night, and then like dismantle them one by one each night, then bring, you know, like the metal back to his bunker, or was it all in one night? Again, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter because you reach the same destination either way. But wait, do Trash and the Gang have souls because they do move on their own? Also, they are tied to Purple Guy's past because they're in UCN. I mean, there are a few characters in UCN that are kind of like not actually tied to William Afton. Like Old Man Consequences, for example. It's just Old Man Consequences. And by, you know, Trash and the Gang too. Probably not anything to do with Afton. But they're there. Helpy is another one. Helpy's in UCN. But yeah, I mean, there's also like a few characters that were kind of like not forgotten, but like they are not in UCN. Funtime Freddy's not in UCN, and Afton made him. Help, Henry, Mike, help! How did Springtrap take off the suit if he tried like 50 times to become Scraptrap? Isn't Old Man Consequences Edward Murray? I know that's a theory that people have come up with, and I do understand it. Like, I think, oh, that makes sense. And, like, that's a cool little... If he is Edwin, that's kind of cool. I do like that. But there's nothing to necessarily confirm it. So, it's a fun theory, and it would be, you know, if it is true, it would be really cool. But, it's not confirmed or anything. Wait, Panstan is not important because he's not in UCN for some reason. Yeah, like I said, like, the necessarily, like, the characters included... They don't necessarily have to be directly tied to Afton. Like, the toy animatronics... it's neither confirmed, that's a theory. It's like, are they actually haunted, or are they not? It's kind of like, you know, up in the air. It's fast and loose like that.
Wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else, something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked.
Also, personally, if he, like... Again, whether or not he did it over the course of a few days or just like one single night, I don't think he came back looking for more metal. I think he came back for his suit, and like that's when they gank up on him. The reason I think he came back for his suit is because in the books and like the Silverwise trilogy and the movie, it's, you know, it's kind of implied that via the suit, he is able to have some sort of control over the animatronics. Although, to be fair, in the fourth closet, he's able to do it without the suit, so... I don't know. But either way, I think, like, you know, somehow he is able to influence them via wearing that suit and whatnot, so it could be like a control thing. Or... alternatively, you know, he has a personal connection to that costume, since it was the one that he, you know, committed all the murders in and whatnot. You know, that, you know, that you know, it's like sentimental value. Which, you know, Afton, ironically, is a sentimental guy.
His past victims come to collect their due.
By the way, hello Maria. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day or night. To be honest, I prefer the theory that Edwin is Sleepy Moon. That's a fun theory.
All led by Cassidy. The 5...
Why is Foxy in FNAF 1 so beat up and withered? I think, like, the tear in his chest and whatnot, it's more of, like, a design choice. Like, some of that withering is more like, it's purposeful. It's supposed to be part of him because he's, like, a pirate or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily... Then again, he is out of order, so, like, you know, maybe that's part of it.
Lined up and blocked the door, and Afton's mind reeled. The scientific implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the day that they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge. The spring lock snapped into place.
Yes, Rocket Money cancels subscriptions, but it also gives you total control over your finances.
Wait, how?
So do you ever feel like you have no idea where your money...
Place. Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming to collect its due. He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive.
Would you rather
to
the
live,
AR skins
to
be
keep
canon or the
living.
Password
Took
Fight
days.
being canon? I would prefer the AR skins are canon. So, you know, that's a rough question to answer. Probably the AR skins, just to answer it though. But yeah, no, yeah, I mean, they technically are canon. They, like, the how to put it. Unfortunately, for better or for worse, Freddy Frostbear is canon, though, yeah.
Lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him. A security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners, after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
I can't wait to see Freddy Frostbear in FNAF Movie 2 in December.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years, trapped behind the walls with an iron will that refused to die. End of this part. I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point, and the episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that—
I like how forever nowadays is classified as like 22 minutes. To be fair, though he did talk about a lot in this episode, of course, so, you know, for the context of like the timeline, yeah, it's a lot of information. But, you know, it just goes to show people's attention spans nowadays. It's like the right time period for a video, you know, the length, it varies over the years. You know, I think the minimum is like, you gotta reach that 10-minute point at least.
We already knew, stuff that's been established and re-established time and time again by the games. That said, there are two things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of Sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983. The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton speaking through—
Fun fact, the Springlock failure is why you freaks can't breed with Springtrap. That won't stop me.
For a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like Baby ripping in half at the waist to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room,
Okay, number one, the issue with that is Baby does not split at the waist. She, like, there's a hole in her stomach that opens up, a claw shoots out, grabs the kid, pulls him inside. It's not like, oh, she's splitting open, like, aha! You know, like, not like a slinky or something. It's you know, it's like a hole that opens up in her chest, or, like, stomach or whatever. Whereas Fredbear is like an actual mouth that doesn't really have an actual function, honestly. Like, the number one way that guy is, okay, to be fair, this is conjecture, but, like, how is that mouth gonna work to begin with? Anyway, sorry, besides the point, though, like, it does not function the same way that he's trying to say it does. And also, you get into the whole thing of, like, why would Afton make those child-murdering robots so early on in the timeline? But I think he's gonna at least bring that up.
Presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains why he's scared, and more specifically, why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close, because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmares, to scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that we play as the crying child in FNAF 4.
That's not, okay. I understand why he's saying that, but it is also, it's being coy. Game appearances, Five Nights at Freddy's 4, but that's also that's not saying that you play as him in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. It's saying he appears in the game, which he does in the mini games. But that doesn't mean you play as him in the actual gameplay. You play as Mike during the gameplay of FNAF 4. It's just, you know, you're taking that and just making the assumption that, oh, because he appears in the game, you play as him in that game, but it's not true. Hello, Doc. Welcome back, Faye. Your favorite beer addict is back. Welcome back. The room being empty would be good evidence if FNAF 4 took place in modern day, but back then people actually went outside, so that's why I felt like bad evidence to people actually went outside.
That's why he has a nanny cam following the—
What if the crying child has a fear of sharp teeth as well? I mean, the kid's probably scared of anything that's spooky.
Crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen.
Oh, what the fuck? What are you? Get off my screen.
The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see in Midnight Motorist. It also allows circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in—
That's a... I understand where he's coming from, of course, with that too. It's because Funtime, it's like Mangle, the fixed version of Mangle in FNAF world is called Funtime Foxy, which is weird, but also the endoskeletons are totally different. You know, this is... what are you? It's the Endo 02 design that is Mangle. The Endo 02, just, you know, like, screwed up because he was a take-apart, put-back-together attraction. And then, you know, Funtime Foxy is more like the other Funtimes with, like, the tubes and wires and whatnot. So I don't think they are the same character, as weird as, like, the naming convention might be.
The FNAF 2 location. Basically,
Mega's face does open, though. It does not open like a Funtime animatronic's face does. It does not do that. Like, her jaw might unhinge, but it does not open like Funtime Foxy.
Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline? Yeah. At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone, and we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is 1985. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work, hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline. Afton's death here is also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one thing. Candy Cadet makes that very clear. So the 5 things are the 5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine if it weren't for one huge problem. On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring locked. So
On a mild other note, not that it necessarily matters, but I don't know if he would have actually, like, dismantled Golden Freddy. That's not something we see him ever do in the minigames. Alternatively, I think I deposited this in, like, my other theories, and I think probably other theorists have as well. It's possible that when he dismantled the 4 animatronics, it, like, melted them down into the remnant, then injected that remnant into his Funtime animatronics. I think maybe, like, Golden Freddy / Cassidy, when all of the animatronics, like, formed together in order to create Ennard, like, that's maybe when Cassidy, like, popped on in and said, hey, hello guys, I'm here now too. It's kind of like the thought that, like, Golden Freddy or whatever follows the other 4 or something through some fashion. Of course, the simpler answer would be that, you know, he did dismantle Golden Freddy, but the thing about Golden Freddy is that it doesn't have an endoskeleton, or like it's in suit mode or whatever. The issue there is just that we don't ever see him actually dismantle Golden Freddy, nor do we see evidence of him doing so. So I would say he probably didn't, but it's neither here nor there.
The 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby
Golden Freddy has an endo and AR. Well, AR is a slightly different case when it comes to the animatronics.
leaving us with 5 more games to cover and another 40 plus years of Fazbear history to recap. When you put it that way, something tells me that this might balloon into 4 parts. Ugh, we'll see. Anyway, until then, my Faz heads, congratulations, you've made it through a massive upload. And hey, if you are still looking for more to watch, then check out the other 5 brand new awesome theories over on our new sister location, Style Theory. This thing literally launched today, so this is your chance.
On that note, let's see, how long have we been streaming? We've been streaming for nearly 3 hours, actually. Oh my god. Time flies by when you're having fun, fellas. In any case, we're actually gonna call it quits for the night since we have been going for a while, and I was surprised that stream went on this long. Thank god that my tooth didn't start hurting. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed stream. Hope everyone enjoyed me reacting to Matpat'S Ultimate Timeline so far. We'll continue it like another day. We'll do the other 2 parts at a later date. I'm going to try and start streaming more regularly again. I might change what my schedule is because streaming every day of the week is a bit tiring, but we'll see what happens. I'll work it out. I still have this cavity to deal with. I'm still standing better than I ever did. On an unrelated note, I absolutely black hot Bonnie. Black hot? Hot? Oh, do you mean hot? Like, you mean like the nightlight Bonnie? Anyway, sorry. Thank you for joining, guys. As per usual, thank you to everyone who was watching. I hope you enjoyed stream. I hope you have a good day or a good night, whichever it is for you. And as always, I always come back. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, actually, before I forget, there's a Discord. I have a Discord. I have a Discord server. I have Discord. If you want to join the Discord and be notified whenever I upload or when I'm streaming, you can join the Discord via the link below. If you have Discord, you can join the Discord via the link below. Bye-bye.